Okay, welcome everybody to May the 26th regular town council meeting. We'll start with the adoption of the agenda. Take a motion for the agenda. Thank you, Councilor Warwick. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Director Rowe.
Your Worship, if I could, with your permission, I would like to remove 6.3, and it'll be brought to the next council meeting with some changes to the request.
Okay. Anybody else? Any more? Okay, all those in favor of the amended agenda? Thank you. Next up is the minutes of our last regular town council meeting. Take a motion for that. Thank you, Councilor Waters. Any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. First up, correspondence.
This is a letter from Alberta Municipal Affairs Office of the Minister addressed to your worship. The COVID-19 pandemic has created major fiscal challenges for governments all around the world. In Alberta, we are also dealing with an economic downturn caused by low world energy prices. Despite these difficulties, we remain committed to supporting Alberta's communities with significant capital investments. As part of this commitment, I am pleased to confirm that $1.226 billion will be allocated to municipalities and Métis settlements in 2021 under the Municipal Sustainability or MSI initiative. This amount front loads MSI funding to help you transition to more sustainable funding levels over the next few years. Funding amounts from 2021 to 23 will average $722 million per year. This economy and the infrastructure Albertans rely on. Oh, I apologize. This funding will allow local governments to sustain existing projects, continue stimulating the economy, and build the infrastructure Albertans rely on. For the town of Vegeville, the 2021 MSI capital allocation is $1,532,057. This includes $1,189,577 in MSI capital funding and $342,480 in basic municipal transportation grant funding. The 2021 MSI operating allocation is $50,553. MSI funding amounts for all municipalities and Métis settlements are also posted on the Government of Alberta website. I look forward to working with you to help Alberta's communities get through these challenging times. Sincerely, Rick McIver, Minister.
Okay, take a motion to receive and file. Start with Councilor Broadjack. Thank you very much. Okay, any discussion or any comments on Minister McIver's? Councilor Rudick, you're first.
Just a quick question, Cliff. It says on the heading for this item that it also has the GTF, the gas tax fund allocation. I don't see that in here. Was that also going to come because the gas tax or the community building fund has been doubled? So I'm just curious where that might have been.
That will come under separate correspondence. This one covered MSI and the basic municipal transportation grant funding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Well, it's slim pickings next year. They're cutting it almost in half, and then again the next year. So be very careful in incoming council where they're going to be spending some money. Their projects won't be anywhere near as big as what we've been accustomed to. So. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Next up, we got a letter from High River
Okay, and
Mayor.
This is addressed to Town of Vegeville, to your worship. It's proposed Alberta coal restriction policy. Your input on the future of eastern slopes of the Rockies is important to the long-term health of our water resources and their ability to provide clean drinking water to all communities in the province. The town of High River remains concerned about the negative impacts coal mining will have on our communities, landscapes, water resources, and future generations. We are requesting your support for our version of a new policy that reflects our desire to protect the eastern slopes and our water resources in perpetuity. The town of High River has met with the Coal Policy Committee and agreed to prepare a framework that would see coal exploration and development banned along the eastern slopes. At our May 10, 2021 regular meeting, Council unanimously supported the wording outlined below, and we are requesting that all Alberta municipalities join us in supporting the proposed policy. Specifically, the town's proposed Alberta coal restriction policy would be effective November 15, 2021, and has three key principles. Number one, no further coal exploration or development will be permitted on the eastern slopes of Alberta. There will no longer be categories within this area, and instead there would be only one area defined today as the eastern slopes. Number two, existing coal operations in the Hinton Grand Cache areas will be permitted to retire gracefully. Number three, reclamation of lands distributed by coal exploration activities with coal exploration permits issued prior to February 8, 2021 must be reclaimed no later than December 31, 2025. Our rationale for these three principles of the Alberta coal restriction policy are as follows. Number one, the inherent value of eastern slopes only exists with the landscape remaining intact. Number two, the headwaters and landscapes of the eastern slopes are critical to the future of our province. Our communities, agriculture production, food production, tourism, and recreation all rely on these landscapes existing and their watersheds producing clean water. Water is a limited resource that we all require to exist. The town is strongly opposed to any activity that increases the likelihood of water contamination. Once a waterway has been contaminated by coal mining, this action cannot be reversed. Our future generations depend on us protecting this resource. Number three, the negative impacts on the environment, human health, animal health, and existing economies far outweigh the new jobs, taxes, royalties, or economies that may be generated as a result of the coal development in this area. The town will collect all feedback received and report back to the Coal Committee policy in July 2021. If you are in support of the proposed policy wording, please send a signed letter to myself or acknowledge your support utilizing the endorsement below. Please send all letters and feedback to Mayor Snodgrass, High River, with a copy to Legislative Services at High River, no later than July 15, 2021. I will then present this policy to the Coal Policy Committee along with the feedback received. If you are interested in participating in the presentation of this policy to the Coal Policy Committee, please contact me at the above noted email address. Thank you for your considering supporting this important initiative. If you have any questions, please contact me. Sincerely, Craig Snodgrass, Mayor, Town of High River.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to receive and file, plus that we are in favor of the going ahead with this motion. Okay, Councillor Barry, didn't take you long. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Barry, and then Councillor Worrell.
Yes, I think that we should support this and endorse this letter. I think it's consistent with a discussion that we had in another council meeting with the same subject. So I would I don't wish to make any amendments to their letter, but I do know that in the east slopes, in the Coal Branch area of Hinton and Edson, that the companies that are there are actually asking for approval to expand. So I don't know just how soon they'll have to retire. But otherwise, I'm totally in support of this because I do believe we need to protect our east slopes and the watersheds. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Royal.
I echo much of what Councillor Barry said. We had a discussion and I think that there's some very important aspects. I would not be opposed to us signing. My only thing that, because they're asking for some feedback, or maybe this is something that there is more information on. I'm a little bit unsure if I think that their number 3 is 100% viable, only because, you know, there is both the talk of retire gracefully and that saying anything that was permitted before February 8th reclaimed no later than December 31st, 2025. I think we know how some of the reclamation goes, so I'm not opposed to signing it. However, I guess if we were giving some feedback, I might want to state that, you know, there might need to be a look at what exactly is considered, you know, basically permitted activities for that time frame, because I just don't know if I think it's 100% viable. That would be my only thing. But other than that, I would support it because yeah, I just think there wasn't a lot of explanation as to how 2 and 3 flow together and what that time frame would mean, because I would think that everybody in 2 has permits prior to, so I'm just not sure about the reclamation time frame. That was my only concern.
We see nobody else. Of course, I mean, we're all worried about the watersheds and the future of our province. I mean, it's fairly easy for us to sit here in central Alberta and say that those jobs that are in those areas that have already had permits are not important. Well, they are important to those people who live there and the economies of people there. So if we were to say anything here, you know, I know that we said we were going to support them in our previous meetings, and we talked about this, is any new projects moving forward. But a lot of this stuff that's already there, I wonder what these communities feel about losing those jobs when they're already supposed to be, the permits are done and there's been money spent. So that's the only concern I have is, you know, it's fairly easy to sit here in central Alberta and condemn people that are about to lose their jobs. And it's kind of tough, really. I mean, so I will support this myself as well. But if I was going to make any comments to His Worship Snellgrove, what I would probably do is talk to him about the projects that are already up and running and those jobs are how they're affected. So, Councillor Barry.
I would agree with you on that. I mean, in the Crow's Nest area and in, unfortunately, some of the areas of the Coal Branch, the operations that are out there, Grant Cache and et cetera, I believe will be allowed to continue. I believe the biggest question here is at what time do they retire gracefully, and at what time period would they have to have reclamations completed? By the time they retire and by the time they are doing the reclamations, then the particular jobs will have phased out already, just because that would be the nature of operating. I certainly am not looking at closing down the existing operations that are providing employment, but I certainly wish to try and reduce and restrict the amount of new open pit mining that is going to contaminate a lot of water sources and potentially even the water source that we rely on. So I think that this is a letter that will be going to a committee, and I believe that they'll sort out some of those things as they do the negotiations. Thank you.
Okay, and I'd like to apologize too. I got His Worship Craig Snodgrass, that's Elk Grove, sorry. Not a politician I've heard of. So. Okay, is there any more comments? All those in favor to receive and file and show our support for this letter? Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we got Kristen McSweeney.
This is from the Pride Week Planning Committee, and it's a letter addressed to Mayor and Council, read Pride Week 2021. So the proposal is celebrating LGBTQ2S+ Pride Week during June 14 to 18, 2021. This proposal comes from multiple organizations and individuals here in Vegeville, including Vegeville and District Family and Community Support Services, Vegeville, Vegeville Centennial Library, Brianna Pearson Pavola, and Mental Health Capacity Building. We all believe that it's important for the town of Vegeville to recognize and stand for the acceptance of the LGBTQ2S+ community members in Vegeville. For the purposes of our letter, we will be referring to ourselves as the Pride Week Planning Committee. Background: Pride Month is currently celebrated each year in the month of June to honor the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in Manhattan. The Stonewall Uprising was a tipping point for the gay liberation movement in the United States. In Alberta, the first Pride celebration was held in Edmonton in 1980 and became a week-long festival in 1983. Since then, Pride events have become more popular in urban centers, but unfortunately, rural areas are struggling to show support for their LGBTQ2S+ community members. Looking at the town of Vegeville strategic plan for 2018 through 21, there are three main goals that can be addressed if council decides to take part in Pride Week this year. Under section 4, culture, 4.2, celebrating diversity. Under section 5, social, 5.1, welcoming community, 5.2, safe community. It is important to note that both A.L. Horton Elementary School and Vegeville Composite High School have gay-straight alliances. This is important and desperately needed because LGBTQ2S+ youth face approximately 14 times the risk of suicide and substance abuse than their cisgendered and heterosexual peers. Studies show that key factors for positive mental health and well-being for LGBTQ2S+ individuals include support from family and friends, particularly for youth, visible representation in the workplace and community, and supportive workplaces and neighborhoods. By celebrating Pride this year, the town of Vegeville will be showing those young children and teens that their community supports them and cares for them, thus creating an accepting community in which they will want to remain in even after they graduate. Communication strategy. The Pride Week Planning Committee will do all the advertising via social media and safe space posters around town. We ask that the town of Vegeville shares the posts onto their social media and the town of Vegeville website calendar. Social media posts will be created by different members of the Pride Week Planning Committee. In an attempt to educate people on the LGBTQ2S+ matters, the posts will consist of explaining what a gay-straight alliance or GSA is, the differences between the Pride flags and the importance for each, different mental health facts, including statistics concerning suicide and drug addiction within the LGBTQ2S+ community, the importance of pronouns and gender identity. Recommendation: we are asking for the town of Vegeville's support in celebrating and recognizing Pride Week here in Vegeville, which would include raising a Pride flag at the town administration office during June 14 to 18, 2021, and or painting the Main Street intersection crosswalks to match the Pride flag, similar to how Airdrie and Smoky Lake have done. Thank you for your consideration on this matter, and we look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Kirsten McSween, on behalf of the Vegeville Pride Week Planning Committee.
Take a motion to receive and file. Okay, Councillor Waters was first. And So we'll start with some discussion. I know we talked about this before. Does anybody find out what our policy is on flying flags at the town hall? Okay, well, I'll take it that we don't have one. Cliff?
Our current flag protocol policy deals just with the Canadian flag. We are looking at updating our flag protocol, but at this point, it's just the Canadian flag. So given the absence of a policy, it's our discretion if we want to fly a different flag.
Okay, does anybody remember us ever flying a different flag at our town hall? You do? And what was that for, Phil?
Your worship, we flew a Nova Scotia flag in honor, in remembrance of the tragedy.
Yes. Yeah. And we flew a Ukrainian flag at the Ag one time too. Okay. So who wants to start off the conversation here? Councilor Riddick.
So I would say that I'm happy to see that there's a committee that's bringing it forth. Not only have they coalesced a diverse group of people to be on this organizing committee, they've also tied the goals that we have as a council to the goals that they're trying to achieve. So I think we talked about this previously, and we talked about celebrating diversity, welcoming community, inclusive community. And we also talk a lot about mental health. And I think as leaders, we also need to be publicly supportive, and whether it is a raising of a flag, that is something that's suggested, but that doesn't need to be the only way or the way that we recognize publicly. So we can find a way that is appropriate for our community to demonstrate the support for a diverse group. And I would be in favor of working with the Pride Week organizers to find a way that fits for our community in a way that we can be publicly supportive. And again, it's easy to be leaders when the issues are straightforward. But in this sense, I think we also need to be leaders when it might be more publicly identifiable in favor of a certain stance. And I think we should support those that are asking for our support. I also really appreciate the fact that it fits in specifically to the points of our strategic plan and identifies how we can support this community. I'm in favor.
Okay, anybody else? Councilor Waters.
The 2 times that we did fly those flags was for specific reasons, different aside from organizations. There are other organizations that have weeks proclaimed for them, 4-H week, Royal Purple, and that kind of thing. I think with the flag myself, until we have a proper flag protocol or flag policy in place, we should wait with that. But as for painting the crosswalks, I think I'm okay with that as long as it's something that'll last for the week and then it's gone, kind of thing, like the Ukrainian days. They do their festival, the windows are decorated downtown, and that is in celebration of a specific period of time.
Okay, Councilor Warwick.
I also, yes, want to see us recognize and celebrate in some way. Just to reiterate again, for anybody who's watching, they didn't specifically ask for either the flag or the crosswalk. They just asked for celebrating recognition, which they just said, which could include. So I think that we have an ability to figure out what is the best way to do it. I am open with the flag again, though, even if we do the flag, I would like to see us consider right away getting some sort of policy in place, because I do think that that is an issue. Now, for me personally, I also want to, I do have some concerns that anything we're done that is new in a community sometimes can be subject to some pushback. And to me, the worst thing that would ever happen would be to see some vandalism in the area. That's why I have concerns with the crosswalk, because it is something that to me is a little bit easier to see vandalized, as we saw what happened with our beautiful artwork, some with the posts from the Vegeville visual artists. So that's my only concern with the crosswalk, but I certainly am in favor of seeing some form of recognition.
How about this? How about we go ahead and vote on receive and file? Councillor Rudick has already said that she would love to get a hold of this committee and work and see what we can do to and recognize their efforts and their organization for that week. And then she'll get back to us before the date. So it's the 8th, or what was the date again? I put it.
June 14th to 18th, sir.
Yeah, 14th, 18th. Are you okay with that, Councillor Riddick?
I would be happy to. Is there any other thoughts on council that I should be bringing forward to that
Okay.
table, or you can send that to me as well?
Councillor Barry has some input here. Go ahead, Councillor.
Rather than us, without a protocol, looking at changing multiple times the flag at our town office, which I think should be reserved for the Canadian flag or a provincial or territorial or other nation type flag, if the occasion should arise. Could you possibly consider other locations in town, like our Vegeville sign with the 4 flag posts at the park and the other entrance up by the comp? Would it be appropriate to potentially fly a flag at one of those alternate locations? Just as a thought when you're having discussions.
Well, I'm sure that Councillor Riddick will take that feedback. And the way it sounds that we're all in support of recognizing that week and their efforts in some way. So hopefully by the next meeting, Councillor Riddick, you can make some contact and we'll try to move forward with the best interests of everybody here involved. Okay, so we're going to vote on the motion for the receive and file that Councillor Waters brought forward. So all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, Director Rowe.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a request for a council decision. The topic is temporary road closure request. The proposal to approve the closure of one block east of 47 A Street to 49 Avenue for the Elk Island Public School bus rodeo. Sorry, that should be on there. Now, the background: Elk Island Public School Division approached the town of Vegeville to host their yearly bus rodeo, which brings bus drivers within the EIPS district of Vegeville to join in a morning of fun bus obstacles. The annual event gives bus operators a chance to showcase their skills by maneuvering a bus through a short but challenging obstacle course. EIPS is also requesting the delivery and pickup of town of Vegeville barricades. The communication strategy: the temporary road closure will be posted as a news item on the town's website and through our social media channels. Recommendations being made that town council approve the temporary road closure of one block east of 47 A Street to 49 Avenue from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on June 1st, 2020. And there is a map on the adjoining page for reference.
Okay, can we get a motion for the recommendation?
I believe that should be 2021. Yeah.
So Councillor Barry makes the motion. Quick question, Director Rowe. This has happened here before?
No, sir. We've never hosted it here. It goes from community to community within Elk Island Public Schools Division, and they've asked us to host it this year.
Okay, I'll open it up for a conversation on the motion. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Brodziak first, and then we'll go back to you, Councillor Barry.
I think we should welcome the bus drivers to our community. This sounds like it's a great event that would showcase their skills, much like maybe the Zamboni driver at the Oiler game a few years ago. I think that we've got the perfect place there. According to the map, that road is not used a lot, especially during the week. June 1st would be a Tuesday. Definitely think it would be a good location to host this event.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Barry.
I would support this as well. It's not unlike closing a section of road right in that vicinity for some shinny hockey on Family Day. And I think that certainly we could class the bus drivers for schools as frontline workers. And I think that they've done a tremendous job in all of our communities to keep bringing kids to the schools. So I think that it would be a very good event to welcome and host.
Okay. So all those in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Look forward to seeing those bus drivers in town, and hopefully some of the local talent will shine through, being on their home course. Okay. 8.2 is yours again, Director Rowe.
Yes, thank you, sir. Request for council decision. This is the transfer of funds from general operating reserve. The proposal to transfer from the general operating reserve to the operating fund. The background: in August 2020, Town Council noticed there had been some issues at the RV Sandy dump station. Administration was required to follow up on those issues. The recommended option from administration was to have a second Sandy dump station constructed adjacent to the existing Sandy dump station. The consensus of council was to proceed with the construction of the second Sandy dump station. The initial phase of the construction commenced in November 2020, using funds from uncompleted parks projects due to wet weather. The project was completed in the spring of 2021. The financial implications: the total cost of the project was $31,602, of which $15,000 was funded in the 2020 parks operating budget. The balance of the $16,602 is to be funded from general operating reserves, as this was an unbudgeted expenditure. Recommendation is that Town Council authorize the transfer of $16,602 from the general operating reserve to the operating fund.
Okay. For a motion for this recommendation, Councilor Warla. Some discussion. Councilor Riddick.
I have no issue taking it from the reserve to be able to utilize for this purpose. I just want to go back to some of the background. I wasn't aware that we had the recommendation that we needed 2 Sandy dumps. I thought we were repairing the one. I didn't realize that things had evolved in the process that we were going to have 2. Was that a change from our original discussion as things evolved over time?
Do you want me to answer that, sir, or would you like to?
Go ahead.
No, the recommendation originally, Councillor Rudick, was to add a second Sandy dump after we looked at what we had originally, and to help curb the large amounts of lineups at the Sandy dump on the weekends. The second dump was proposed and accepted.
So, Director Rose, so this money that we're using was money that went back into the reserve last year when the project wasn't completed, and now it's being brought forward.
That is correct.
Okay, anybody else? Councilor Project.
I also believe that we had discussed some of the drivers with larger RVs were not able to turn around properly. So this new design, I think, will help with that problem.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Phil.
Yes, and thanks to Director Lefebvre and his staff, modifications were made to the road using in-house staff and materials, and the road is much more accessible for larger units and can easily make the turn into either of the new dump lanes.
Yeah, it's going pretty good, except for the contractor promised us a chain on the screw down tops, and they're not there yet. So,
and they are coming.
Okay. Okay, any more? Councilor Riddick, go ahead.
So I'm just wondering, I didn't see any signage out there. Is there any other additional signage, just because it is a change, particularly for those that are used to coming through? And I know there are a lot of people actually that come from farther locales and go back to Edmonton and happen to leave some of their goods behind in Vegeville. Is there signage going to be explaining the change and how the routing through those two different sites will be
Yes.
used properly? Okay.
Yes, the signage is on order and it's being manufactured right now. We put a plan in place, and we'll be doing some painting of lines as well to make it easily understandable by the public.
Okay. All those in favor of the recommendation to bring forward that $16,602? Carried. Thank you. 8.3, again, Director Rowe.
3's a charm. This is a request for council decision. The topic is Western States Hockey League, WSHL Vegeville team. The proposal is to enter into an ice rental agreement with the Western States Hockey League to host a local junior A hockey team. The background: in January 2021, the Western States Hockey League made a presentation to town council proposing to host a junior A hockey team in Vegeville. After several meetings, the town of Vegeville has negotiated the initial terms of the agreement that town council addressed. Research and consultations have been made with other communities that have entered into similar agreements to determine those appropriate terms for the town of Vegeville. The financial impact: the town of Vegeville would receive ice and gym rental revenue as per the agreement. The communication strategy: the Western States Hockey League would be notified of council's decision. The recommendation is being made that town council agree in principle to enter into a 3-year ice rental agreement with the Western States Hockey League.
Okay, take a motion for that recommendation. Councilor Warla. Any discussion? Go ahead, you can start it up, Councilor Warla.
I just, I want to say on this that I know there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of back and forth. I do know that we're looking at it from a rental side of it. Having a day ice rental is something we haven't had the ability to have before. And we do know that it's an opportunity to offset some costs potential revenue that we will lose with not looking at this upcoming year of having a junior B option, as well as a very strong possibility of some reduced ice needed through the minor. So in that vein, I am excited to see that. And I know we've asked a lot of questions, so I am thankful to staff for the due diligence that they've done, the following up with other communities, and some of the additional information. That's all.
Okay, anybody else, any comments? Well, I can let you know that moving forward, there will be some fine tuning of the negotiations. We've looked at other communities and what their agreements are, and we've taken the best out of there that we can for ourselves. And they've now announced that there is a local owner, which is Lorianne Coho of the team. That's who will be running it and operating the team. So we feel good about that. There is all kinds of clauses in what we're proposing for us to get out if things are not going the way they should be. But this is, no matter what, an ice rental agreement more than anything is what we are looking for the facility. So what we're doing by this motion today is to tell admin to go ahead and finish the negotiations off with the team. So they will be bringing it back to us with the exact nature of the finer points. I can tell you right now, the last few times I've had meetings with Cliff and Phil about what our expectations are in this contract, that feel pretty good that we've got everything closed down to what's good for this community. So that being said, and there's any no more comments? Oh, go ahead, Director Rowe.
Your worship, if it's okay with yourself and council, a request from the team that if this motion does approve, that they would like to open up their social media campaign so that they can start generating some excitement in the community.
Well, they must be feeling pretty confident about all of our new terms then. So if that's what they want to go ahead and do after our motion, if it's approved, then I guess it'll be fine. So we have a motion on the floor for the recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Joe, or Councillor Lemko. And I know you have your own reasons, so. Okay, you can let them know about that. Okay, next up, Director Lefebvre, 8.4.
8.4, topic is additions to the 2021 Capital Works project. The proposal is to approve the unbudgeted expenditure for additions to the 2021 Capital Works project. The background, it has been determined that the concrete edging on all of the crosswalks on 50th Street between 48th Avenue and 52nd Avenue, which is from the courthouse north to the railroad tracks, have deteriorated to the point that they require a complete replacement. We had priced the project out with patching certain sections and then put a complete replacement as an option in the tender when it went out. We now feel that patching it is, after it's done another winter, is just no longer feasible. The second addition is to replace a section of sanitary sewer main that is failing and interfering with regular flows on 49th Avenue. That section begins on 48th Street and continues 55 meters west and includes 2 service lines to 2 properties. This repair includes trenching the area, replacing the sanitary main line, 2 sanitary services, 2 water services, rebasing, patch and pave the trench area, and then we'll mill and overlay the entire road for that section. Financial implications. In accordance with policy FIN-6007, council approval is required for this unbudgeted expenditure. A transfer of up to $232,000 from the infrastructure reserve fund to the capital fund is required. This amount includes contingency, engineering, testing, it's all included. The communication strategy is that MP Engineering will be notified of council decision, and these additions will then be included in the tender award for the 2021 Capital Works project. Recommendation is being made that town council approve the transfer of up to $232,000 from the infrastructure reserve fund to the capital fund for the 2021 Capital Works project.
Looking for a motion for this expenditure from the reserves for these capital projects. Councillor Lemko, thank you very much. So this here's some of the stuff that we talked about earlier regarding the curb work and stuff on Main Street during that part of our capital project going through there. And it needed, it keeps the crosswalks have a cement base on them. But if the curbs and the corners come off anymore, we're going to start losing all of those stone pavers that are in there. So, and the second part is that the sanitary line on the other side of town is it just needs to be done. We cannot spend any more time or money fixing it. It just needs to get fixed. So, any questions on the recommendation or the process that got us here? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next up, Paul Casey. Who's doing his? Cliff, are you doing his?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So this is the 2021 tax sale and reserve bids. The proposal is to set the date of and reserve bids for the 2021 tax sale. The background properties that are in tax arrears for more than 2 years are placed on tax notification through the Land Titles Office. If the properties on tax notification remain in arrears on March 31 in the year following the notification, the municipality must offer these lands for sale by public auction before March 31 in the following year. This year, the town has 7 properties eligible for tax sale. The Municipal Government Act, Section 419, states that council must set a date and reserve bid for each of these parcels as close as reasonably possible to the market value of the parcel and any conditions that are applicable to the sale. The reserve bids are recommended in consultation with Ray Cruz, the town's assessor. So the recommendation is that the 2021 tax sale be set for Tuesday, September 7, 2021 in council chambers, and the reserve bids be set as follows. Tax roll 048300, reserve bid of 60,000. Tax roll 009100, reserve bid 50,000. Tax roll 153900, reserve bid 270,000. Tax roll 153800, 35,000. Tax roll 016000, reserve bid 150,000. Tax roll 286500, reserve bid 135,000. And tax roll 063201, reserve bid 225,000. And further, that the terms of sale be cash, money order, or certified check.
Okay, take a motion for the tax roll, Councillor Broadjack. Is there any questions on this? I know last time there was, when we talked about our ledge, but go ahead, Councillor Broadjack.
Council has discussed why the reserve bid was always set, I would say substantially higher than the assessment. But could I have administration explain to our viewing public the reasoning behind the reserve bid?
By all means. The reserve bid is set to protect the municipality to be as close as possible to the market value of the parcel. Even though the assessment may be lower, the reserve bid should be as close to market value as possible. If for whatever reason it is not close, the municipality is liable for any difference if it is below market value. So.
Okay, Councillor Riddick.
I just wanted to check. This is a more substantial number of properties than we've had for a while on the tax sale. Is there any other implications? Of course, you've talked about the necessity to set a price according to provincial legislation and that kind of thing. Is there anything else that we need to consider in the process leading up to this tax sale?
Our next process on the tax sale is to notify all of the owners and any registrants on title, which would include any mortgage companies or finance companies, that the tax sale is set for this certain date. And if taxes are not paid by that time, the properties will be auctioned at the public sale. So.
Okay, well, thanks for the clarification on that, Cliff. And so in the past, if a piece of property was sold on tax notice and it was deemed less than what market value was, there was an opportunity to sue the municipality. So this is always a tricky thing. When they first get on the tax roll, and then usually they're cleared off within a year. And if they're not, then when they get switched over to ownership at land titles to the town, things move a lot faster. So. Okay, so we have a motion. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next up, admin office renovations. Cliff.
Okay. Completion of administration office space renovations. To complete the renovation of the admin office space, foyer, and main floor hallway. The background: earlier this year, the administration office had undergone some renovations to make our front counter more accessible, as well as increase the security for the staff from both COVID and the public. With the front counter renovations complete, now the main administration area and offices showing their age in relation to the newly renovated area. Carpeted areas are worn out in several areas, and the carpet is taped down to mitigate the tripping hazard as the seams are ripped, lifted, and fraying, and the fluorescent lighting is inefficient, and the workstations are old and worn. Completion of the renovations would include, number one, relocating the front counter to the rear of the office to provide a workspace near the vault. Number 2, replace linoleum and carpet in high traffic areas with vinyl planking as in the council chambers. Number 3, replace worn carpet in all remaining area and offices with carpet that matches the newly renovated workspace. Number 4, new workstations to match those in the newly renovated area. And number 5, replace ceiling tiles and inefficient lighting in the offices, administration area, foyer, and main floor hallway. Lights would be replaced with the efficient LED lights. Financial implications: to complete the administration office renovations, the estimated cost is approximately $80,000, including a 10% contingency to be funded from the Facility Lifecycle Reserve. The recommendation that Town Council approve the completion of the administrative building renovations for the estimated cost of $80,000 to be funded from the Facility Lifecycle Reserve.
Okay, I'll take a motion for this recommendation. Councilor Barry. Any discussion? You can start it up too, Councilor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that having been successful in getting some grant funds to do some of the major renovations related to COVID in our new council area and some office space and the front entrance, this is an opportune time to actually complete the renovations and bring everything up to date. And I think would be very pleasing to our staff to be able to have better surroundings and a better workspace. So this would be a good opportunity. So I'm completely in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Well, okay, Councilor Braja.
I agree with Councillor Barry that this is definitely the time to do it. I believe that the last major renovation was almost 20 years ago. So in order to keep the employees safe and visiting clients to the administration office, I believe that this is a necessary expense at this time.
Okay, Councilor Waters.
And much like Main Street, we found some inefficiencies there that should be fixed at this time while we're doing the major projects. I think this kind of fits in line with that. It's something that we didn't foresee. And safety, efficiency, it's important for all of our staff, and we need to provide that for them.
Well, I can tell you it's very nice to have this building renovated, and this will be the last part of the building it's in use. The downstairs was renovated a few years ago. FCS was renovated. So this is the last step, and to get all this work done for around 30 cents on the dollar, I mean, we're very fortunate in the fact that they're closed anyway, so all this work's getting done, and we are doing our part to support local contractors and local businesses in this renovation. So, and that's what the grant money was put out there for. So, Councilor Warwick.
Sorry, I just had, one last thought. Somebody had actually asked me about this the other day. So I just wanted to kind of share the same thing I said there, was that I'm really confident with all the work that Min has put forward, that what we're seeing is a practical upgrade, not based upon need for, based on cosmetic or comfort, but it really seems like a lot of efforts were made sure to upgrade things like your LED lighting, as mentioned, and also to make it a usable space, and a space that, given we don't know how things are going to move forward, even when we look at the renovations that happened just prior with council chambers, making it possible so that if we continue to face restrictions in the upcoming time, that we'll be able to possibly still do safe meetings, or also have options and better options for being able to bring in people so that they have access to presentations. We saw that downstairs, and it's going to kind of flow the same. So I just think it's really important that we thought a lot about this, and I think it's also fair that council rejected the first things we saw on renovation, and basically said that renovations had to be based upon practicality. And so that was a conversation I had with somebody, and I just thought I'd share that. Well,
there's no doubt about it. The reason that we do have some reserves is because we've been very careful how we're spending money. And when opportunity arises like it did with the grant to bring this building up, to make it good for another 25 years, I mean, this is a perfect time to spend the money. I mean, to be saving all the time and not using your savings wisely doesn't make any sense. And if anybody thinks that we were using this money unwisely, it will be a very functioning type of building. And we're saving money with the upgrades to the lights and everything else that we do. So all those in favor of the motion? Carry. Thank you. Okay, got another one here, Cliff.
Okay, this is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities election to the Board of Directors. Whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, or FCM, represents the interest of municipalities on policy and program matters that fall within federal jurisdiction. Whereas FCM's Board of Directors is comprised of elected municipal officials from all regions and sizes of communities to form a broad base of support and provide FCM with the prestige required to carry the municipal message to the federal government. And whereas FCM's virtual annual conference and trade show will be held June 1 to 4, 2021, during which time the annual general meeting will be held and followed by the election of FCM's Board of Directors. Be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Vegeville endorse Councillor Tanine Rudick to stand for election on FCM's Board of Directors for the period starting June 2021 and ending June 2022. And be it further resolved that Council assumes all costs associated with Councillor Tanine Rudick attending FCM's Board of Directors meetings.
Okay, take a motion. Okay, Councillor Waters on that one. Any comments? Start with Councillor Warwick.
I just wanted to say that I believe that us having a representative on the FCM puts us in a unique position of being able to have firsthand information and detailed information, and probably and also an ability to have small rural communities' voice heard in a stronger way than we would normally. So I think that we see a great benefit from having a member on the FCM.
Okay, Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll echo that in saying that I believe that Councillor Riddick's voice has been very strong for our community, and it has brought the rest of Canada into knowing where Vegeville is and what we're about, and has supported us in a great deal. So I certainly believe that continuing to have her voice there is very important to us. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Lemko, did you put your hand up? Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I fully agree with colleagues, and good luck, Janine. All the best. I know you'll represent us and our province proudly in the election.
Okay, so I just want everybody to know that it says that it further be resolved that council assumes all costs associated with Councillor Tanine Riddick's attending board meetings as the director's meetings. Well, I think Councillor Riddick's been on there for 3 years, and she has secured her financing, and the town has not paid for her to be there. So I want everybody to understand that. And she represents our community very well, and the Western Prairie provinces very well too. So, and we all wish her good luck. And as long as it doesn't interfere with her councillor duties, we don't have a problem with it. We've seen her balancing act before. Yep. All those in favor? Thank you. You got one more here, Cliff.
Thank you, Your Worship. Listing for the sale of 6620 Highway 16A West. So the proposal is for the sale of the property known as the Trans-Canada Building, and the land's located at 6620 Highway 16A West, being Plan 142-5405, Block 2, Lot 2. So the background, the town of Vegeville purchased the Trans-Canada Maintenance Facility located at 6620 Highway 16A West in 2012. The initial goal was to consolidate administration, planning and development, and public works departments at the new facility, allowing the town administration building to accommodate an enlarged RCMP detachment and family and community support services. Retrofit costs were eventually deemed too exorbitant, and in 2014, Town Council decided to list the TransCanada building for sale. Over the next several years, the town had received offers to sell the building. However, for various reasons, the offers were not fulfilled. In the April and May 2021 legislative committee meetings, Council had discussions in closed session regarding the future of this building. So with communication strategy, the town of Vegeville will work with a local realtor to list the TransCanada building on MLS. The town of Vegeville will then market the property through targeted social media campaigns specifically designed to reach potential purchasers outside of Vegeville. Recommendation is that Town Council list for sale the property at 6620 Highway 16A West, being Plan 142-5405, Block 2, Lot 2, as per the terms and conditions discussed in closed session.
Okay, take a motion for the recommendation. Councilor Riddick. So as we all know that Cromtech has backed out of the deal due to their COVID situation and their investors and their equipment and their tech guys. So there's no sense of us leaving this building set there any longer. We might as well go out and try to sell it again. Any other comments? I know we've talked about this extensively in closed session. Councilor Berry, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I've been in favor of having this building sell. Definitely hope that it would have been sold by now. We have come very close on a couple of opportunities, but financial situations just seem to collapse for those who are trying to build or trying to buy it. But we have been successful in not leaving it empty. We have received revenue from 3 or 4 different sources over the time. But it is time to put it back on the market and look for somebody who will be interested in purchasing it. Thank you.
Okay, well, hopefully another company will come along with some ideas and some employees that want to start up. That's what we can hope for right now. So, seeing no other hands waving in the air, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor? Gary, thank you. Okay, board motions. They look like they're all FCSS. Are you doing these all, Director Rowe?
Yes, I am, sir. All right, first one, request for council decision. Proposal to accept Doris Delary as the community member with no children or children at home representation on the FCSS Advisory Board. Background: at present, the FCSS Advisory Board has vacancies. Doris Delary has submitted a letter indicating her willingness to serve on the Vegeville and District FCSS Advisory Board. She is new to the community and is looking forward to the opportunity to bring an outside perspective to this committee. Doris states this opportunity to contribute to improving our community and making a difference is one that I value. Also, as a young woman without children, I believe I can provide a unique perspective that would be valuable to FCSS. The FCSS board is pleased to recommend Doris Delary as a new member. The recommendation that Town Council approves the FCSS Advisory Board recommendation to accept Doris Delary as the community member with no children or children at home on the FCSS Advisory Board for a 2-year term commencing May 2021 to 2023.
We'd like to have the honor of making this motion. Councilor Berry. Any comments? Councilor Warwick.
I will comment on this one, but I guess I just want to say that it's true through to all of them, so I won't repeat the comment every time. But I just want to say it's a good sign when people are interested and put their names forward, and we really appreciate it. There's been a lot of talk, and even one of the FCSS initiatives being the recent, ways to support volunteers. So it's just really great to see that coming forward, and in particular, since we're starting off with Doris, it's nice to see somebody new come into the community and start right off wanting to volunteer. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. And I feel that for everyone who's put their name forward and all the recommendations, we had some empty spots, and these members have been sitting in on some of the meetings, but now have an ability to come in an official capacity, and we're really looking forward to it.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Doris. Go ahead, Phil.
All right, second one, same FCSS Advisory Board member. This proposal is to accept Calvin Somerville as a ministerial association representation on the FCSS Advisory Board. Calvin Somerville has submitted a letter indicating his interests in serving on the board. Calvin states, "I believe in what FCSS is doing for the town. I would love to be a part of continuing to reach out and develop the community. I've had a lot of opportunity to work with various organizations, and I believe that I can be an asset on the board of FCSS, working together to make this town even more amazing than it already is." Recommendation that Town Council approves FCSS Advisory Board recommendation to accept Calvin Somerville as the Ministerial Association representation on the FCSS Advisory Board for a 2-year term.
And the honor for this motion goes to Councilor Brajak. Thank you. And who would like to say something here? Councilor Lemko.
Yes, Your Worship. I believe that we've been working with North Point Church, and where Calvin is his home. They've donated their office space to support our programming for FCSS as well, and be a welcome addition to have Calvin, as he brings a lot to the table. I'd just be curious if ministerial association is endorsing this individual. I believe that's how we got in the past. Ministerial association who put a name forward, and that person would come in. So I'm just curious. I support it.
I haven't heard anything, Councilor Lemko. I could certainly check for you if you wish. But it's been a while since we had a ministerial representative.
No, I'm as long as the ministerial association is happy with in putting his name forward, then I'm good. But no, he'll be a welcome addition to the FCSS.
In my time in FCSS, there was a spot that was always held for somebody in that position, and there was a recommendation from their group that person came from, correct? Me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Thank you, Cal.
And next one, Your Worship, proposal to accept Bradford Sonnenberg as the single adult 18 to 25 years of age representation on the FCSS Advisory Board. Bradford Sonnenberg has submitted his letter. He is interested in becoming a board member for many reasons. However, the main ones are his passion for making a difference and having an opportunity to contribute to the betterment of the community. Bradford states, "To me, FCSS plays an essential role in providing a number of opportunities for children, youth, and their families to interact and share many different experiences in this community. It would be such a privilege to be a part of an important organization." The recommendation that Town Council approves FCSS Advisory Board recommendation to accept Bradford Sonnenberg as the single adult 18 to 25 years of age representation on the FCSS Advisory Board for a 2-year term.
Okay. Hasn't made a motion yet on this. Councilor Waters, you had your hand up second last time, so you'll be making this motion. You'll have the honor. Okay, who would like to say something? Well, we're going to go with Councilor Brajak this time.
feel like I've heard his name before in several circles with the Rotary Club as a member of the Rotaractors, the Interactors. And I think maybe he was on the Chamber of Commerce board. I remember hearing this young person's name before, and I was very impressed with his abilities, his interaction on the various boards.
Does anybody have any history on Bradford? Oh, I know I've heard his name around town too, so. Jameson?
Not that I have any sway in this, your worship, but I personally vouch for young Bradford. He was under my employ at the radio station for a couple of years, and Councillor Brodziak, you are correct as well, as a youth advisor to the Vegeville District Chamber of Commerce. I have nothing but sensational things to say about the young man. He is the epitome of what a young citizen should be when it comes to giving back to the community. So that's just my 2 cents. And again, one of the hardest workers who was not getting paid I've ever had the pleasure to work with.
Okay, there we go. That's a dead shoe in right there. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Bradford. Let's do it one more time now.
Yes, final one. Proposal to accept London Wiley as the community member with no children or children at home representation on the FCSS Advisory Board. London has submitted her letter indicating her willingness to serve. She is interested in becoming a board member to participate in the betterment of the community. London states, as someone who was born and raised in Vegeville and now runs a business in town, I have an interest in the programs and services that are available to help support and enhance the well-being of families and individuals in our community. Recommendation, the Town Council approves FCSS Advisory Board recommendation to accept London Wiley as the young married adult member on the FCSS board for 2 years.
Who would like to have this honor? Councilor Warwick. Thank you. Who would like to speak? Councilor Riddick.
I would just say it's great to see a young business owner like London, who has been extremely involved with the community, continue to devote her free time to making sure that the community is better. So I'm glad to see so many vibrant additions to the FCSS board, and I know that London will be a great addition.
All those in favor?
Your worship, just an addition, each of the new members will receive a letter from your office indicating acceptance to serve on the board.
Wow, that's pretty special. All those in favor? Gary, I would just like to say to all those people that put their name forward, on behalf of council and admin and the citizens of Vegeville, thank you. Because without people putting in the time and donating to make this community a better place, it doesn't happen all by itself. So, okay, we have nothing under bylaw. There we go. Councilors' reports. We will start with Councilor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Fairly short one. On May 13th, actually joined in on an ASHA webinar, Municipal Tools for Support of Affordable Housing. It was interesting, but mainly geared to the municipalities more than looking at the MD Minburn Foundation. Also on the 13th, public consultation at the man-made Lake Pond, looking at the trails there and discussing things with some of the community people. On the 18th, our ledge meeting. On the 25th, we had one of our Vegeville Corn Maze committee meetings, and I'll leave most of that to our chairman, Councillor Lemko. But I would like to just say that the area has been prepared. Again, I'd like to thank Director Rowe and some of the support staff out there that hauled in some dirt and filled in the low spots with it being freshly disked now, and the rainstorms that we had, those low spots got wet, but they didn't hold water. So we're very hopeful that this is going to improve the various areas of the corn maze. And also, if folks are driving by that way tomorrow morning, they'll see some more activity because weather permitting and everything else taking place, will be the group that's coming to seed it will be out there putting the corn seed in. And then we just put our fingers crossed and watch it grow. Thank you. And tonight's council, of course. Thank you.
I think you might have missed one on May the 13th. You were at the museum and I think it was the first donation that was going to be made to the new Vegeville
Absolutely. I will leave that to you if you want.
Well,
I'm very pleased with the fact that in 1945, McCormick Farmall A was donated to us. And it's going to be a very useful, it's a fully running little tractor. It's absolutely perfect. And I'm looking forward to using it for transporting things around the corn maze, including carrying water in a trailer and tank out to the pumpkins and et cetera, because I'm hoping it to be a drier season this year. Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, and I forgot that that's by Joe Billick.
Exactly, yes.
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Lemko.
Thank you, Your Worship. May 12th, I had two webinars. I sat in on the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting with it was an interesting meeting. I also sat in on the Town Hall meeting with Dr. Henshaw, Premier Kenny, and Minister Chandra, who provided us with a COVID update, and that was May 12th. And certainly things have changed since May 12th to now, so we'll go into that. May 13th, the public consultation regarding the walking trail. I attended that and listened to the concerns of some of the residents out there and gave them some information on the walking trail as it was planned by this council. May 18th, Go East of Edmonton board meeting. A lot of discussion around the travel guide and going forward with the tourism, with the restrictions in place, and those things change weekly. May 18th, FCS's advisory board meeting. I'll leave that to the chair, Councilor Warala. May 18th, ledge meeting. 25th, would have been yesterday. I sat in on Minister Schweitzer's Alberta Economic Recovery webinar. Interesting how they see the Alberta rebounding from this pandemic and their positions for success being taxes, efficient government, and strengthening the job market. So he was very optimistic that we're going to lead the country here in the next, moving forward in the next couple of years. The corn maze meeting last night, we're excited. The corn should be in the ground tomorrow. And we're fortunate to have a sponsor provide the seed, the chemical, and the planting, and that'll come forward. Some other discussions at the corn maze meeting was the themed weekends, and we talked about what those could look like. We're excited, and we'll unravel those as we move forward. I mean, we're looking at June, July, August, and then the corn mazes. So we got 3 months, but we're on top of things. We're looking at sponsorship, and we've got sponsors that have stepped forward already. And we have themed weekends. Will include petting zoo, pony rides every weekend of some fashion, and some things, markets. And we're excited about the museum being renos being completed, and we can offer something else in that too. So it'll be an exciting time, and once the restrictions are lifted, to welcome many people to our community like we had last year. So we're excited. And tonight's council meeting, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Councilor Warla.
All right. There we go. So I had a number of same meetings as my colleagues. On the 13th, I attended the public consultation at the man-made pond. And then later that evening, we did a review of some of the survey findings through WIC. May 18th was our FCSS meeting, and just going to highlight just a couple of quick items that I had marked down from here. A good portion of our meeting, we discussed the COVID-19 well-being survey, which was presented to council. Again, I think a very good job done by the FCSS, and we've seen some good surveys come led by the staff, and also Jasmine has done a great job in some of the roles that she's taken through. Some of the COVID-19 well-being, it falls right into what we're hearing overall, and it fell into one of our new pieces, which was the mental health discussion. So that seems to be one of the largest components that's coming out, is ways to continue to help people through the mental health. We also looked at some of the FCSS programs and service modifications that have had to happen. I was going to give a little bit of an update on the programming, but I think it's fair to say that yet again, some of the updates we have will be changing based upon the announcements we just received. But I can tell you that they've done their part to try very hard to create online components, and they've really modified but been able to continue forward with a lot of the programs that they have done. We'll give a little more of an update. We've been, working through some of the survey stuff and the next steps forward, but there's a number of the meetings going ahead from the FCSS. Then I had the 18th later that day, the legislative meeting, and followed by tonight's council.
Thank you very much. Councillor Waters.
Can't wait till we can stop using that mute and unmute button. So much of the same meetings. May 12th, the CALS Community Association for Lasting Success. Everything is going well there. The staff have been able to remain healthy, so that is a positive. Of course, adhering to the AHS requirements with safety. The municipalities' tools for support affordable housing. I sat in on that Zoom webinar as well with Councillor Barry, and yes, there were some ideas, but it is more for your municipality more so than to the lodge itself. So good information, but maybe a little misleading as to who should have been watching it. The public consultation on the 13th as well at the man-made pond, the legislative meeting. On May 20th, we had the Vegeville Rural Physician and Health Professionals Attraction and Retention Committee meeting. First one that we've had in a while, so I hadn't had to say that name for a long time, but it's coming back. Everything's going good there. Dr. Siddiqui started mid-March. He is settled in and he has a good complement of patients. Our committee is going to try and set a time that we can meet with him, see if he has any concerns or requests from us. At the clinic, there's a new part-time receptionist, and she is welcome there with the workload that they do have. The clinic doors are open, so you no longer have to stand and wait outside, but of course you have to adhere to the COVID rules when you come in. The doctors and staff at the clinic, they are doing well with the stresses that are there with everything that has been going on. So that is good to hear. I think things are starting to get kind of more routine, which is nice as well. With some recruitment, Dr. Hollins and Dr. Frank have been having medical students shadow them, showing them how rural practice is and what it's all about. And hopefully those medical students will follow in the footsteps of some of their peers and look at rural health. And also with recruitment of doctors, that is continuing, as 2 of our doctors, their contracts, one is coming up in a year, another in about a year and a half. We're not sure what their intentions are. So recruitment is ongoing for that. As well as, I'm going to say, recruitment for the healthcare aid program. That is going to start September 2nd. We have 3 students currently enrolled. We need 8 to start the course. Lab spaces will be between Vegeville and Mundare, mostly in Vegeville, and a lot of online instruction. There's going to be another information session June 9th, so watch social media for the link for that, or contact someone on our committee to get you the link. And also there's a link on the Red Deer College site for instructors. So if there's anyone here locally that feels they are the fit and they want to be an instructor, local talent to teach our local talent would be terrific to see. So a lot going on, I guess, with that committee right now. It is challenging, of course, with with the restrictions that we have to meet with the doctors, but we do reach out to them and appreciate them as much as we can. And that is my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brajak.
Okay, on May 12th, I attended the Chamber of Commerce General Meeting with our guest speaker, Charles St. Arno. He's the chief economist with the credit union. And I want to comment that his outlook on the economy is very similar to Minister Schweitzer's outlook. That was the Chamber of Commerce meeting that was yesterday. They both envision that Alberta is on the rebound and definitely in a better position than many of the provinces in our country. Yesterday, Minister Schweitzer highlighted that hydrogen investment, the petrochemicals industry, and geothermal energy in Alberta could all be up and coming future projects to leverage our economy. I attended the telephone town hall meeting on May 12th with Premier Kenney, Minister McIver, Minister Shandro, and Dr. Dina Hinshaw. And what a difference 2 weeks makes. The outlook 2 weeks ago was definitely much different than the announcement made today by the Premier. I attended on May 13th the public consultation meeting at the Riverview Man-Made Pond. May 18th, the legislative committee meeting, and tonight's council meeting.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rudick.
I'll just talk about some of the things that are maybe different than my colleagues. There are many things in the last couple of weeks, and so there have been a number of FCM meetings as we're reaching the end of this term, my fourth term as a board of director for Alberta. So May 11th, increasing women's participation in municipal government working group. That project is coming to a close, and there's a new pocket of funding to move forward for the next 3 years that's been accepted by the Status of Women and Gender Equality, encouraging more women to run. And we also had the meeting with community members at Man-Made Lake, as council has alluded to. I would look forward to ongoing discussion of this type to make sure that we continue to have interaction with our public. I think it's great that we've had a number of opportunities to be able to engage over the period of COVID and making sure that we continue to hear from our community and provide a way for them to be able to feel like they're being heard and listened to in a variety of different settings. So I'll look forward to more opportunities in that way. I did attend the Vegeville Community Health Services Awareness meeting that's held quarterly. And just wanted to bring forward this note that I don't know that we've heard before. Since we've transferred over, I apologize for the dog playing with the toy in the background, the joys of working at home. Since we've transferred ownership of the ambulance over to AHS, one of the things that they said actually as a positive that they've heard is that the central location, as strange as that might sound, it actually isn't that far away from the previous location, is actually very beneficial, and that that's been something that they've noted. So seems like a surprising comment to me, but one that I thought I would bring forward to this group here. I was asked to present at the Economic Developers of Alberta Experience 2021 conference this year on a session that was called Growing Rural, a Provincial Opportunity, and presented with the president of RMA, Paul McLaughlin, as well as 2 other presenters. It was a great opportunity to do a retrospective and take a look at where we've come from when we first heard the news of the case processing center and where we are now, and even just the announcement yesterday that was made, or last week, sorry, Initech made with a new cultivar that's going to be grown Silesia, that opportunity that we've taken something that was very negative and turn it into something that we could turn around and harness and be able to own ourselves as a community is really positive. And just the number of people that were in that session that talked about the revitalization of rural communities and the necessity to continue to market ourselves really fits in line with what we've been doing as a community. So It's a great conference and a really good presentation. And there's actually a lot of things that I felt were really appropriate for our community as we're moving forward in the next year or so. Also had a consultation about FCM National Infrastructure Assessment Consultation. So there is a new proposal put forward by the Minister of Infrastructure, and just sort of taking a look at where communities are and what type of infrastructure investments we want moving forward. So really valuable discussion about what works well for us, and kind of across the board funding like gas tax, the community building fund, and those kind of grant funds are really important. But the case for us exactly with the ISIP grant, for example, having the engineering design excluded from the possibility of being paid for in the pocket of grant funding is an inhibiting factor, especially for larger or smaller communities. So that has been put forward as a proposal to be able to mitigate the fact that a lot of smaller communities can't even spend the money on a potential project because we can't waste money on engineering for projects that might happen and couldn't actually come to fruition. So that and other suggestions that we've talked about here too, as-built or pre-engineered projects, for example, RCMP buildings. If we had the same building being built in every corner of the country, it doesn't make sense to have to keep re-engineering and spend that money over and over again, multiple times in different communities. So a lot of good discussion there. The other one that I want to bring back is the inclusion of natural infrastructure. And this might be near and dear to Councillor Barry's heart, but talking about waterways and natural protection of the infrastructure that's pre-existing. So the fact that Canada has 20% of the world's freshwater sources needs to be maintained and preserved. And we did that again here tonight. So I just want to make sure that we continue on that vein. And that would be my summary of most of the meetings that I attended. I just want to say thank you to my colleagues here for supporting my run for first vice president. I have been an Alberta board member for the last 4 years, which has been extremely valuable for me personally, but I think also for our community. We've been able to have access to a number of different grant funds, and being able to put forward the perspective of our community against larger communities has been really valuable. And I'm losing my voice because I'm trying to make 50 phone calls a day to registered delegates. And apparently, even though I do talk a lot, that's too much for one voice to take. So I'm going to keep moving that campaign forward, and we'll see what happens. We've got 3 very qualified candidates on the dockets, and hopefully we'll see what happens in a week or so. Thank you very much for your support from my colleagues. I appreciate your kind words. And that's my report.
Thank you. And I'd like to apologize, as I said earlier, that you were on the board of FCM for the last 3 years, not 4 years. I do stand corrected. So I've been involved in a lot more day-to-day meetings with the town since I vacated my other position. They think they're getting tired of seeing me around the town hall, but no one's said it yet, so I'll wait until I say it. So on the 11th, I had a meeting with Cliff and Phil and myself with the Western States Hockey League, just to let them know what some of our expectations would be moving forward if we did. On the 12th, I had a meeting with the CAO, the EDO, and our communications department, and we were trying to figure out a strategy moving forward about approaching not just little things, but the naming of the new industrial park and how we're going to represent ourselves with some new industry people, and just to get an overall feeling how we're going to work together. So it was a very good meeting. On the 12th, I also attended the chamber meeting and listened to the economic development guy there, the economist. And it really wasn't, even in Schweitzer's meeting the other day, it's not that Alberta is bullish on Alberta. The rest of the country and the United States and most of the world is saying that Alberta is going to lead the economy in this country. So that's a good feeling, and hopefully it works out. On the 13th, I met with Councillor Barry and Joe Billick from Billick Financial, and he made the first donation of a beautiful little tractor. It's been fully restored, And I think it's going to be quite the addition to the museum running around out there. It can drive belts, to drive all types of machinery. It has PTO. It has everything that we need out there, and it's just the right size, so it's going to be nice. On the 13th, along with everybody in council, and I want to thank everybody in council and admin that showed up over at the man-made lake. And these are not easy conversations to have with people that are upset that their things are, their way of life may be changing, just for us trying to make the community have more access to that park. But not everything that we do is going to be easy. So I appreciate everybody coming. The legislative meeting, then we had another meeting with Phil and Cliff on the walking trails, and I think we've made some good recommendations, and we're gonna see that some of the people are going to be a little bit happier with our decisions, or because we told them going in that we were there to listen, and if there was something that we could do, that we would. So we're going to make a couple of recommendations. We're going to move forward. On the 21st, I recorded a couple of different video recordings for each high school. And I don't know if you guys know this or not. I recorded something else where I'm challenging other mayors and councils to get out and let's get this vaccination program rally backed up here, going again. So that was good. Doug Schweitzer's was informative, I'll say. Basically, if everything works out the way the province has planned, if it does all work out, it never does, but it was a good insight into what the possibilities are moving forward. I also thought it was getting on an AHS COVID vaccination conversation after that meeting. This morning we had conversations moving forward with how the agreement would look with the Western States Hockey League, and hopefully between Phil and Cliff, the negotiations will go good and they'll be able to start using their name. I was contacted today by CBC TV, and they would like to do an interview with me regarding the challenge that Vegeville's thrown out to other municipalities to help get this vaccination rolling, the program rolling, make it a positive message. So I taped that to this, I think it was at 2 o'clock, and it should be airing tonight at 11 o'clock on CBC News and tonight's council meeting. And I've made sure I stopped in at every department in the town, usually every 2 days, and just to see how things are going. So, and again, no one's told me to leave yet, so we'll see how long that honeymoon lasts. So I'm actually enjoying being there more often, and I can hardly wait till we can get in and start using that facility the way that's been renovated and the way it's meant to be. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks that we may be able to say that we'll be setting all together again and back to our meetings the way they were. So that's what I have. If anybody else has anything else that they want to bring forward for this meeting, okay, I will now adjourn this meeting at 8:38.